Hi, class. This is Professor Jimenez. And as part of week two, I wanted to kind of highlight a little bit about the strengths and weaknesses component that you did last week. Um, these skills, strengths, and weaknesses are things that are not going to go away. These are things that will come up again in your conversations, whether you're talking about preparing for an interview or coming up with what are the key strengths you want to talk about and highlight when you do go into an interview. So make sure that the strengths that you've used for your assignment are strengths that you can not only talk to, but you can actually use when you do go have your mock interview at the end of this module. In terms of weaknesses, I just want to clarify one key point. Remember, you should always have one or two weaknesses, such as, for example, maybe you are working on time management skills in the sense of you want to make sure that you get things done on time so that things are done in the proper way, and you're working on improving that by making sure that you focus on the right tasks at the right time. Again, when it comes to weaknesses, it's not just so much about picking the weakness, it's more about how are you trying to work on or overcome the weakness. So, for example, if time management was an issue for me, I could say, in the past, I've had issues where I tried to get a lot of things done in a short period of time, and I ended up not managing my time properly because I really had a hard time prioritizing. So, what I did was I reached out to a mentor, somebody who could guide me and help me in understanding some of the key ways I could prioritize things. For example, creating a list, coming up with a way to determine what has to be done right now versus what has to be done a day from now. I ended up implementing a tracking system so I could go in on a piece of paper. I would track all of my individual activities for the week and prioritize those that needed to be done and deprioritize those that needed to be done later. This helped me to improve my time management skills and get things done on time with the appropriate level of priority and control. Something like that. Anyway, the point is, when you do talk about a weakness, make sure it's something you can talk about. The one thing that you don't want to say is, I don't like working with people. Because let's just say, if you were to say something like that, you have a problem in your field, especially in the medical field, or dealing in the paralegal field, or even in the business field. You will encounter situations where, guess what? You're going to be dealing with customers or patients. So, guess what? Not liking people is not a good weakness to talk about. Again, these should be authentic, they should be real, they should be things that you know that you can talk to and that you're trying to develop. One thing that I would avoid completely is bringing up weaknesses such as, I'm not a morning person. Probably not a good idea, especially if you know the job is supposed to be from 9 to 5. And in some cases, even though they tell you, although we do have a 24-hour, shift in the sense that, we have shifts across 24 hours, maybe what they really want to hire for is a morning shift. So this is, you got to think about, two, three weaknesses that you can use. Read the job description before you go into a job and make sure that you understand, um, you know, which, I guess, um, what kind of requirements do they have. With that, again, you want to develop two to three things that you can use as weaknesses that if you had to bring them up, you have answers in which you can pretty much show that you have overcome or are working on overcoming them. So hopefully that clarifies a couple of points for all of you about strengths and weaknesses. Now keep in mind that your strengths are going to come up again in a couple of weeks when we start getting into the specifics about how you're going to start answering some of your questions around the mock interview. So again, start thinking of ways to talk about and how do you incorporate your strengths into your conversations, into the interview, and How do you answer the question of, tell me about a weakness that you have? Again, start developing the answers that you will use to overcome them. Hopefully this helps, folks. More to come on this. And take a look at the rest of the week 2 videos. You can get started in terms of getting ready for our upcoming midterm assignment. Thanks again.